It's time for JUCO Jam, presented to you by Dream Big Athletics, hosted by Tad Slowick, an exciting new podcast bringing you all the great action from JUCO baseball. Here you'll find weekly updates from around the country, highlighting the teams, players, and coaches who impact the game at the junior college level. Everything you want to learn about JUCO baseball can be found here and on our website at dreambigathletics.com. There you'll find our weekly team rankings, the top player rankings headed into the spring, and all the news of what is happening in the game at the junior college level. On this show, you will have many guests, coaches, players who will give us insight on the day-to-day, behind-the-scenes working of junior college baseball. And now our host, Tad Slowick.
Welcome, baseball fans, to another exciting episode of the JUCO Jam Baseball Podcast, brought to you by Dream Big Athletics. I'm your host, Tad Slowick, and we have a special guest with us today, Chris Razo, head baseball coach of the Heartland Hawks. Welcome, Chris. How are you today?
I'm good, Tad. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, exciting times right now. We're getting ready for the postseason, and your team has just put up a great record so far. You're 46-4, and you're on a 23-game winning streak, which is just unbelievable, especially in the game of baseball.
Yeah, we've kind of had things rolling here a little bit. I think for me as a coach, the biggest thing is, you find a way to win those midweek games where it's not necessarily the guys who have been on the important stuff during the weekends, because obviously region play for us is the number one thing. But, we got things rolling, and we're excited to get this postseason started after one more week here.
Yeah, I mean, the program is really, really taken off here with you in control of it. And I'd like to tell the fans a little bit about your journey here to Heartland.
Yeah, so we can go back to, I guess, where it all kind of started. And I actually was a player here under Nate Metzger. I graduated high school in 2009, so I was part of the first team to ever go to Enid here as a player, which was my sophomore year, and then transferred to Illinois State, played there for 2 years. We're part of some pretty good program over there, obviously with Mark Kingston, who's now at South Carolina, and Billy Moll was my pitching coach there, who's now the head coach of South Florida. And then from there, played a little pro ball at the Brewers. Once I got out of that, away from baseball for a year, realized that I didn't enjoy the non-baseball life. Opened up a facility here in town with Josh Cowton, who was my pitching coach here when I was a player. And then Jimmy Francos asked me to come on as the pitching coach here at Heartland. And then he left that COVID winter to take a job at Iowa. And I got promoted to the interim coach. Nothing better than your first time as a head coach at the college level, getting your season canceled when you're down in Florida. And then we kind of just had to keep things rolling. So those first 2 years that I was here as the head guy, we were dealing with COVID outside of recruiting and practice times, and it was just kind of a mess. And then last year was the first year we actually had a full fall, full winter, full spring of kind of no restrictions on us. And then obviously we've been kind of rolling since then.
Yeah, and it's been great, having you close by to where I live. I've gotten a chance to see you guys several times. And, the one thing I'm impressed with, not only did you bring in good talent to the program, but those kids play hard. I mean, I really love watching you guys play. The guys are out there and they're focused on what they're doing, and they get after it. I mean, that's kudos to you.
Yeah, and that's always kind of been our philosophy is it's a weird dynamic that, yeah, you want talent, and good talent makes good coaches. I've always been kind of a firm believer in that. But I also believe in that you can kind of win with anybody if you adapt your style of play to what they do. It's been one of those things where if you have talent and you still do things the right way, it's pretty tough to beat. And I think that's kind of just our philosophy of if you have talent and kind of just play the game the right way, then I don't know how you kind of lose.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys had a great run last year. You went to the D2 World Series in Enid and had a good run there. And, we're fortunate to have 3 of your better players back from that squad, Sam Antonacci, Ben Hartle, and Bobby Atkinson. And just to have those 3 back as a core going into the season had to be exciting.
Yeah, and we knew with last year's group, the sophomore class we had last year was special from the standpoint of that was the first group that was kind of part of my takeover here. And they bought into kind of what I was selling and understood that they just kind of trusted me. That freshman recruiting class with Sam and them, we knew we were bringing in some talent. That's where COVID actually kind of benefited us from the standpoint of, money was tied up at the Division I world. So we had a lot of opportunities to grab these guys. And then after last year, when we lost in Enid, we had a meeting with all the freshmen in the hotel. And those three, before I could even said anything, were like, hey, we're running this back. We're not going anywhere. And so we kind of realized with those three coming back, obviously you got three returning All-Americans. You're going to be kind of set up to have some success. And I think we also knew the inevitability of them having years like they had last year with the game of baseball. The expectations are obviously held pretty high to them. And to say they've all kind of lived up to it has been good to see. We knew at least one of them would have a little bit of a down year from the standpoint of they're not going to all hit 500, which is basically what they all did last year. But just from a leadership standpoint and them understanding, it's been a blessing for sure.
Well, I mean, the numbers offensively that you guys have put up this year are just unbelievable. I mean, the team, you're hitting 388, almost 400 as a team, and you scored 617 runs, which is about over 12 runs a game, and that's some great offensive production. And Sam Antonacci's, a guy that I've seen play a lot, and every time I've seen that guy play, he's performed either offensively, defensively, just is a complete player. And that's why he was our number one JUCO player this year. We had a top 10 list come out. You could see that at dreambigathletics.com. And he was the number one player on the list because we thought he was the most complete player with having an outstanding year. I mean, he's hitting 533 now with 11 home runs, 86 RBIs, and 30 stolen bases. I mean, can't ask for more than that, huh?
Yeah, and we knew Sam was a special player when we brought him in. I'd be lying to you if I thought he was going to be this special. It was one of those things where defensively there were some questions of, can he play shortstop at the next level? We're not really sure. And the kid surprised us all with how he came in and has done. The funny part is I sat there just a second ago and said how, these guys need to understand they're not going to have the years they had as a freshman. That's just not how baseball works. And Sam somehow has put up better numbers. And he has become a complete player. And I think that was the thing where he's understood. And like you said, it's hard to describe to people the type of player he truly is unless you see it. And every time, I've coached a kid now for almost 80 games plus. And just this past game we had, he did things that I've never seen before. And I'm like, how do you keep doing this? And I think it's getting to the point now that everybody's taking notice of that. And, I can confidently say I'm never going to have another Sam, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. If you have a couple closest, it would be okay. But, everybody, shortstop is such a hard position to play in baseball, and everybody wants to say, he doesn't do this or that. But I've seen that guy do everything. I've seen him go in the hole, come up big, throwing with the arm, cover a lot of ground. You guys play on turf. He gets to pretty much every ball I've seen, and I think he does an outstanding job, and I would never move him off the shortstop unless you absolutely had to. I think that guy can play at the next level, and he is, like you said, a special player. Also, Ben Hartle having a great year. He's hitting 405. Bobby Atkinson has 10 homers. You got such a strong lineup. Corey Boyette's hitting 486. Galleon Coupe 391. You got Jasek Hewling and Daniel Moselle just producing for you, and that's just a tough lineup for anybody, any pitcher to manage.
Yeah, and I think this group is special from the standpoint of they bought into what we were selling them from day one. And with the way baseball works nowadays, you know how it is. Every coach has their own philosophy on their own style and how they recruit. And I said before, I want to walk up to the field and teams to be like, hey, this team's not big. And we're not. We are a small team, and people laugh all the time where last year when we got to Enid, we had a couple bigger guys, but we might have been the smallest team there. And if anybody comes and watches us this year, the first thing they're going to say is like, well, this team's not big at all, and we don't look the part at all. But this group fully embraces, I tell everybody, you stay with small ball on the approach of working backside doubles. That never gets cold. You can't go through a slump when you can beat teams by 1,000 different ways. And we bunt, we steal, we hit and run, and then we run into a couple balls. I mean, our home run numbers are technically probably down, and the way you look at how many runs we've produced, I think that's just a testament to our guys of staying with our approach that we have from a hitting philosophy standpoint. And, our pitchers love every second of it because they're like, well, I can almost give up 4 runs a game and we still got a chance to win, which that's nice to throw in.
But, and you hit on a great point there. The biggest thing that guys get in a slump is when they try to do too much and start yanking off the ball instead of going the other way with the doubles, like your philosophy, and it's a good one. And obviously has worked over here and done a great job with the hitting and approach, and offense has just been outstanding this year with all the players from top to bottom. And then, you have no slight of talent on the mound either. You got Meade Johnson, who's 5-0 here, Luke Wright 6-1, Jason Buell 5-0, Cy Cox 6-0, and then you got a really good pen with Jack Stellano, Will Fletcher, Mason Telford, and then you got like you talked about, the wild card with Isaiah Jackson, the really highly talented player who been getting through some blister problems and everything, but should have him for the playoffs. So what do you think about your staff so far this year?
Yeah, this has been a unique pitching staff where last year, we had the national pitcher of the year in Reese Dutton. And that was just kind of having a front end guy where I don't think any coach in the country is going to say they don't want a guy that you can just know, hey, I'm going to go out there and he's going to give me 8 to 9 innings pretty much every single time. And he's going to give us a chance to win. This year we have probably the most interchangeable group I've ever had. We have legitimately 6 starters that, I can run out there and I think I'm getting a quality start out of all and every one of them in any situation. The bullpen was a side where we knew coming in we had some talent on the back end with some of the freshmen and some of the returners. And we told them, hey, it's welcome to college baseball. You got to compete. And if you step up and start rolling, we're going to run with you. And I think the ups and downs that every guy goes through throughout the year, by the time the season gets to the point it is now, we have a lot of trust in the guys on the back end. And like you said, having Isaiah kind of just lying in the weeds, waiting for his opportunities, that's a pretty nice thing to have. But the fact that we found ways to win without having him has also been obviously going to help us in the long run. And we're very comfortable where we are going into the postseason of the pitching of, I recruit a certain type of arm and I don't like stock. I like a bunch of unique guys where, heavy slider guy, power seam, 2-seam, sidearm, tall righty, tall lefty, just a bunch of different ways of pitching. And we let these guys kind of be themselves and have success.
Right. You definitely have some contrast on there. You go from a guy like Meade Johnson and Isaiah Jackson to a guy like Jason Buell, who just really knows how to pitch and gets everybody out. And, the one thing about your staff, you use the word compete, and I think that's what they do best. I mean, they compete. I remember seeing Meade Johnson let up a home run early in a game against Kirkwood early in the year, and and the kid just had a nice swing at the ball, and then rest of the game nothing. He just battled back and got after it, and I think that's the credit to all your pitchers. They compete hard and they pound that strike zone. I mean, they get ahead in the count and they have a good philosophy on pitching you guys got there.
Yeah, and that's kind of always been obviously with my pitching background and with the hitters, it's always been a nice luxury we've had here with Tyler Albright's my hitting guy, and he's been with me basically since I took over here, and he is the hitting coach. There's no doubt about it. And, we both have a very similar philosophy on what we're teaching here, but that makes my job very easy from the pitching standpoint. Being the pitching guy, I have the freedom to let the hitters work with Coach Albright and Coach McGinnis, and I get to go over and work with the pitchers. And when you talked about our philosophy from the pitching standpoint, I mean, that is the epitome of what I teach here. It is challenge up, hitting's hard. And we kind of really embrace that. And it does help that our guys all winter get to throw to Sam and Ben and Bobby. And I'm like, If you can get these guys out, you'll be pretty good at getting out a lot of other people during the year because you're not going to face many guys like this. There is the downside, obviously, like you said, of sometimes challenging up when a guy is a good hitter, it can backfire on you. And I think our guys have understood that. And, the fun part for me is I think our pitchers still have so much untapped of what they can truly be. And we're getting to the point now that I think they're realizing we can throw strikes. So now we can throw strikes and then start expanding and really start dominating games.
Right, exactly. And, in the world today, everybody's trying to throw as hard as they possibly can and try and throw the ball by people and trying to look to get strikeouts instead of missing barrels. And I think that's one thing you guys do real well as a staff is you miss barrels. I mean, not a lot of guys get a lot of hard contact consistently off your pitching staff.
Yeah, that's the one thing. You mentioned Jason Buell, and he will be forgotten here as the unsung hero of. It's tough to describe what he does, and I honestly wish I could tell you I knew how he does it. But the kid throws like an invisible baseball. It just the
Right,
amount of swing and misses he gets, and all of our other pitchers just laugh. They're like, Buell has the highest swing and miss rate on the team, and it's not even close.
right.
And I'm like, it's there's nothing there that you're just like, oh, I get why. It's just like, okay, I don't understand. And Hartle laughs all the time because Hartle's caught him now for 2 years, and Ben just comes back and shakes his head. He's like, I don't know, but this is working. And I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, it's great when they have that unique ability. I mean, he's seems like a very high IQ baseball type of guy, who understands what he needs to do with his stuff and really does a good job at getting hitters out. So it's been pretty good. So, and then playoffs looking ahead, you got a tough region like you always do have every year. Parkland, a highly ranked team, Lincoln Land, and then John Woods really come on this year also, and as well as everybody's dangerous in the playoffs. I mean, if you're not on top of your game, you can easily get knocked off if you're not playing.
Yeah, yeah, and that's been easy for me to understand. When I played here as a player, we were sitting there in the championship game waiting to see who we played, and then Parkland showed up and beat us twice to get a chance to go needed. And then my sophomore year, we had to come from the losers bracket after getting upset by Danville in the first round. And so it's like I was on both sides of it, and these guys really understood that I wasn't just blowing smoke when I would tell them how tough this can be. And then my first year here as a coach, when we had that weird fall where we couldn't really do a lot, we somehow, like you said, run into some teams that got hot at the right time, and we go 0-2, and we were done the first day of the tournament, and we're
Right.
the ones hosting it. And so I'm just showing up now for the next 4 days, getting to watch everyone else play. And that group last year, the sophomores, were at every single one of those games, and I made them all come to the championship, and they watched another team dogpile on our field. And there's no more motivation than that to watch other teams celebrate. But like you said, going into the region this year, it's going to be a little bit different, I think, than last year. And I think our guys understand that everybody can beat anybody in our league. And I think that's the one thing with us compared to some other regions and districts. Everybody has their own paths, and it gets tougher at different times. And for us, it gets tough from day one. Parkland's
Right.
obviously a pretty good ball club, and they kind of are getting things rolling back to what Parkland used to be there. And Lincoln Land obviously has a very formidable schedule that they've played, and then the coaches have been there for a long time, and Regal knows how to win, and they've been
Right.
to Enid multiple times. And like you said, John down there has really kind of got that program going in the right direction.
Yeah,
And
they really.
2 years ago, they were who Lincoln Land had to beat to go to Enid, and they were one game away from getting a chance to go to the World Series, and they have truly embraced kind of being the underdog role. And we're excited to go play them this weekend, and then probably run into them in the postseason. And like you said, we just take it a game at a time and give yourself a chance to get into Enid, which is the goal.
Right, absolutely. Especially this year's team's motivated. I had a little taste last year and probably came back to go to distance. So
Yeah, and that's what we said from day one. It was, we sit down as a team, and you have to adjust as a coach to what the philosophy and message is going to be for every single team. And last year it was, hey, we dogpile at home, and we did that. So we technically did achieve our goal. And then once we got to Enid, like we said, we were playing with house money and see how it all played out. This year it was a mix and match of guys coming in saying, well, why would we not go back? And, it was, hey, pump the brakes here, boys. Like, it ain't easy to get to Enid. You got to realize how hard it is to truly get to the World Series. And so once we kind of shifted everything to the message of being, hey, let's find a way to get to Enid. And I think our guys have truly embraced that. So we're not looking too far ahead, and we haven't all year, which has led to a lot of success of, when you are with the target on your back all year, it's a whole different style. And this group's really embraced kind of everyone coming with their best shot.
right, exactly. And it's been a great year for you guys so far, Coach. And I know that anything less than getting there and getting that opportunity to win it all is would be falling short for you guys. But great job with the program, and I love watching you guys play, and kids play hard, and they come up there in your program with high expectations, and congratulations on the job you've done so far.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Obviously, we got this thing kind of rolling, and the goal is to continue to keep it rolling. That's why I said I'm going to be very sad when this year ends and we lose this core group. I said, but it also is kind of going to be very exciting coming in with they don't have all their guys next year. So I'm excited for next year, but obviously we're focusing on this year and excited to make a run at this.
Yeah, well, that's great. And we wish you nothing but the best. Got a nice bunch of kids there and a good team, and best of luck in the postseason.
Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for joining us today on the JUCO Jam podcast, and we'll be back with you with another episode on another day. And this is Tad Slowick saying goodbye today.
You've been listening to JUCO Jam. For all your junior college needs, go to dreambigathletics.com and make sure to tune in to next week's episode of JUCO Jam.